Lag BaOmer, and a good Erev Shabbos to everyone. I think we're in a very unique day, halachically. That doesn't happen often, but this year we had many such unique days. We had a 3-day Rosh Hashanah even in Israel. We had a Purim on Friday and a Purim Meshulash in Yerushalayim. We had an Erev Pesach Shechal Yot b'Shabbat. So thank God we even have a Lag BaOmer on Friday, which I believe is a very unique day, and it should not be overlooked. And I'll explain what I mean. We all know that for the last few weeks we've been mourning, mourning, for the students of R Akivah, 24,000 in number, that unfortunately were killed because lo nahagу kavod ze bazeh. They were not respectful to one another. God-fearing Jews, Talmudic scholars, but not respectful to one another. What's interesting is, how come on Lag BaOmer, very interesting. So there happens to be a machloket rishonim as to why. The Razah, known better as the Baal HaMo'or, is quoted by the Sefer HaManhig and others as saying very simply that they died not, as the Gemara says, mi Pesach ad Atzeret, from Pesach till Shavuos, but rather ad pros Atzeret, until halfway till Shavuos. Namely, they stopped dying 15 days before Shavuos, which happens to be Lag BaOmer. In other words, today was the last day that the students of R Akivah died. And indeed, he quotes this in the name of, and I quote, Sefer Yashan Haba Misfarad, a very old book from Spain, which is explained by the Chida as meaning the best version of the Gemara. So they changed the version of the Gemara based on a manuscript, that it doesn't mean that they died from Pesach till Shavuos, but rather till Pros Atzeret, 15 days before Shavuos, which happens to be today. The Tosfot doesn't agree. The Tosfot has a different point of view, quoted by Rabbeinu Yerucham, and he says that they actually died throughout this period of time, but not on the days we don't say Tachanun. God did not kill them on the special days. So, 7 days of Pesach, the Shabboses, etc., etc. At the end of the day, there were only 33 days within the Omer period between Pesach and Shavuos that they actually were killed by God because of this Avera. So, from this perspective, we would have expected, indeed, two different points of view, and we have them, regarding when this period ends. The Shulchan Aruch, R Yosef Karo, living in Tzfat in the 16th century, paskins that indeed the mourning practices should continue through and including Lag BaOmer, because they died for 33 days, only from Pros Atzeret, namely 15 days before Shavuos, which is actually tomorrow, there was no more death. But the Rama disagrees, based on the Tosfot. Tosfot was an Ashkenazi, as was the Rama in Krakow, comes along and says, no, they actually died for 33 days, and therefore on the 33rd day of the Omer, we stop mourning practices, at least for that day. But the other practical difference is, of course, the day after. In other words, we're about to go into Shabbos. What about Sunday? According to the Shulchan Aruch, based on the Razah Baal HaMo'or, there was no more death 15 days before Shavuos, so there's no reason to continue mourning practices. But according to Tosfot, upon which I believe the Rama is based, well, we still have to make up 33 full days of not shaving, and not doing this, not doing that. And we're not there yet, because there were Shabboses in the middle, there was Pesach in the middle, and whatnot. And therefore, while the Shulchan Aruch says, Nohagim shelo lisai isha ben Pesach la'atzeret ad Lag BaOmer, namely, from Lag BaOmer on, no mourning practices, the Rama points out a bit later in the same chapter, בהרבה מקומות נוהגים להסתפר עד ראש חודש אייר, ואותם לא יספלו למד ג' בעומר ואילך, אף על פי שמותר להסתפר בלבן ג' בעצמו. According to the Rama, some people start their mourning practices only from Rosh Chodesh Iyar. After Lag BaOmer they continue, but on Lag BaOmer itself, they are allowed to take a haircut and shave. So on Lag BaOmer itself, they take a break and then continue. So according to the Rama, actually, we do not fulfill mourning practices on days that we don't say Tachanun, which would include Shabbos, which would include Yontiv, which would include Yom HaAtzmaut, Yom Yerushalayim, and Lag BaOmer, which is a day that we don't say Tachanun. But afterwards it would continue. Now, why is this year unique? This year is unique because of a very interesting law, and that is that even though the RAMA says that LAG BAOMER, today, you can shave, and the Shulchan Aruch says no, only from tomorrow, when tomorrow is Shabbos, even the Shulchan Aruch agrees. And he says, Elayim Kain Chal Yom Lamed Gimel Erev Shabbos, which is exactly this year, She'az Mistaprim Bo Mipnei Kvod HaShabbat. Then you can take a shave and haircut already on Friday in honor of Shabbos. You have a double whammy. You have Shabbos, and it's also the last day of mourning, so we allow it even on Friday according to the Shulchan Aruch. What comes out is, after all this razzle-dazzle, whether the reason is that, indeed, they only died for 33 days, or they only died on days in which we say Tachanun, this year, everyone, Sephardic, Ashkenazic, Shulchan Aruch people, Rama people, will today take a haircut and shave. And if today is such a day of unity, then in my humble opinion, it actually challenges us. It challenges us to ask ourselves, are we doing everything for unity? And I want to just end with the following note. Unity doesn't mean uniformity. 2 Jews, 5 opinions will continue forever. We started as 12 tribes, and we will be 12 tribes. Think of this. When God parted the Sea of Reeds, according to so many Mefarshim, and allow me just to quote the Rambam because he's very rational, the Rambam says in his Perush HaMishnayos, the Masechet Avot, that there were 10 different beautiful miracles at the sea, and the 5th of the 10 was Shehu Nikva Lidrachim Rabot Kemispar HaShvatim, that it actually was split into 12 places, not to one place. That's why in Ma'ariv we say Hama'avir Banav Ben Gizrei Yamsuf. God allowed his Jewish people to go through various paths in the Sea of Reeds. And of course, tomorrow morning in Psukei de Zimra, we're going to say, Lo Gozer Yamsuf Ligzarim, that God split the sea into many places. Gzarim, not Gezer, one place, but Gzarim, plural. We're always going to be 12 tribes. We're always going to have different opinions, but we can still have unity without uniformity. So today, Sephardic Jews will take a haircut and shave, not because of anything special, but rather because tomorrow is Shabbos, and it's a special heter. Ashkenazim are going to do what they do every year. They're going to not have morning practices on days in which we don't say Tachanun, which is today Lag BaOmer. Whether the reason is this, whether the reason is that, we're actually united in our practice. May it be God's will that a day like this will teach us and challenge us to have that continued unity without uniformity, because that is the wave of the future for the Jewish people. 66% of the Israeli population feels that their biggest threat on their independence is the kera hapnimi, the internal strife. Only 28% said it's the war. May it be God will that that strife become less and less and less, so that in the next survey, 66% can say we are united. We don't agree on everything, but we are indeed united as one people.